Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. With all these coins to mine, I'm going to be giving my opinion on what the best budget crypto mining hardware is right now and for the future. So we're going to be covering a bunch of crypto mining hardware that you guys can get and the prices of them, and then I'm going to be giving my opinions on basically what I think about them. We're going for a budget around $300 to the $500 range. I know that that might be a bit too steep, but anything under that, which we'll go into in a little bit, but anything under that is kind of not worth the buy. So this is what I say would be a budget crypto mining hardware, in my opinion, just because a lot of them are thousands of dollars for ASICs, and some GPUs are in the $1,000 range, maybe $800. So anything from around $300 up to around $500 in terms of the price of this mining hardware. So we're going to be going through each mining hardware, GPUs, CPUs, ASICs, and then we're going to be looking at some alternatives that you can do, as well as looking at profitabilities of these in certain scenarios. So let's start out with CPU mining. So you do need a motherboard for this, and you need some other components for the CPU. So this range is basically solely for CPUs. If you have the other components, you might want to consider upgrading your CPU and then mining from the upgraded CPU. So there's not as much options for CPU mining, I would say that. GPUs probably have the most options in terms of mining, but lately CPU coins have been very good for CPU miners and held relatively steady profits, whereas with GPU mining, the profits tend to switch coins quite a lot. So this would be more of a steady state mining, and GPUs would be a kind of switch mining that you'd be doing. I did make a previous video talking about how GPUs are probably going to be unprofitable for a while, but I will give my opinion on what I think the best GPU is on a budget for mining. So in terms of CPUs, I have three here that we can look at. These range from around $200 to around $230. So you can pick these up secondhand for a slightly lower price. So this is why I'm including them in here. And the profitability is not great per day. I know this. The crypto mining scene hasn't been great in terms of profitability since the Ethereum merge. But there are profits to be had on Zephyr coin. As you can see here, basically everything is profitable. The power cost, I do want to mention this, for this video we'll be going off a power cost of 16 cents per kilowatt hour, as I believe that is the average power cost across the whole of the US. So mainly my audience is in the US, so they're going to be working around this average range of power cost, as you can see there. So there are a bunch of other algorithms which aren't shown on Hashrate.no. I believe Rabid Mining, if you go over to his website, he has a CPU mining calculator on there, which will show you a bunch of different coins. But currently Zephyr is looking to be the most profitable for CPUs. It's only bringing in around, if we look here, 21 cents profit on the Ryzen 7 77,000. And then we have the Ryzen 7 57,000X. And then the 77,000X. So this is the 77,000. I wouldn't necessarily go for this, but if you can pick it up at a cheaper price compared to the 7700, then I would definitely go with this X version instead of just the plain 7700. We're looking at the 5700 and the 7700X versions. I only put this in here because it's slightly higher, but I know that you can get them at lower prices. But for my main picks in terms of CPU on a budget, I would go with the 5700X and the 7700X. So profitability is 14 cents. And for the 5700X, it's 18 cents. If you do find a 7700 for around this price range, then obviously the profits are there at 21 cents in 24 hours. Now, ROI is obviously a big thing when it comes to on-budget miners. Right now, the ROI of basically everything is going to be very, very low. But if you're mining now with hopes of profits in the future, you could convert a lot of this mined coins, whichever budget hardware you choose to go with. You could convert it into Bitcoin or Ethereum or Solana if you feel like they're going to go up in the future. So in terms of CPU mining, this would be the type of CPUs that I'd be going for if you can pick them up at a relatively good price. Now, as I mentioned, you do need to have the motherboard, the other components like the RAM sticks and stuff like that to facilitate the mining on a CPU. However, if you do have all of that and you don't want to upgrade your CPU, there is another option. Obviously, this would be through GPU mining, which is the bread and butter of the channel, basically. A lot of GPU mining isn't profitable right now. and it basically has the highest ROI days out of all the mining hardware. I would say though, if you're going to be mining on a budget, go for the most efficient cards that you can find, and I believe that right now the 6600 XT is probably the most efficient for the price that you're getting it at. It says $379. I know you can get them from around $200 to $250 right now, and they mine very efficiently on a lot of algorithms, the main one obviously being the Carpow algorithm, which holds a lot of coins right now. Basically all the AI coins, Neoxa, Ravencoin, Near AI as you can see there, Game Pass, and apparently it's very good on Ironfish as you can see here. It does relatively well on that as well. Here we have AI Power Grid, Flux is there as well, but the main thing that stands out to me in terms of GPU mining would be the efficiency at this point. So you want to be as efficient as possible, and this is probably going to give you the most efficient GPU across a lot of coins that would be profitable to mine. So for my pick in terms of GPU mining, the 6600 XT from AMD, probably the best GPU you can go for efficiency and for the budget of around $200 to $250, around that range if you can pick it up. If you can get it for lower, that's great. I know the profits aren't great on it right now, but if you want to just get into mining and doing something within the mining space and you don't want to waste a load of electricity, then I think the 6600 XT is probably the best bet right now. So that's the CPU and GPU covered. Now the CPU and GPU, as I said, they also need other components which you're going to have to buy. I would only recommend doing the CPU and GPU mining on a budget if you have the other components such as a motherboard and you want to add a GPU to it, or you want to change out the CPU. Make sure that the CPU is compatible with the motherboard as well that you have. You might already have some of these components, so you might be well on your way to mining. Anyway, there's loads of videos out there. You can check out my channel on how to mine a bunch of coins on your CPU and your GPU. I also want to mention that CPU and GPU relies heavily on your power cost just because the profits aren't really there. So you basically want to have the lowest power cost possible if you're going to be doing mining on CPUs and GPUs. But let's head over to a kind of more efficient realm, which is ASIC mining. Most of these ASICs are going to be plug and play, which means that you can basically plug them in. All you have to do is connect to the pools and you're off mining basically. Now, a lot of these do produce good profitability per day at 16 cents per kilowatt hour, but a lot of them do cost a lot. As you can see here, the KS5 Pro is $31,000, so that's not really in the budget range for what we're looking for. As I said, the ROI times are going to be higher as you go down. Obviously, these ROI times are around a year. Right now, this one's 10 months. But as we go down into more budgetable ASICs, we see that the ROI times go way up. Obviously, if you want to mine and convert, you're still in the profitable ranges for a lot of these smaller ASICs, which will bring you slightly more profits than GPU mining right now. As I said, you can convert these into other coins like Bitcoin and stuff like that. So we're going to go through a bunch of picks that I would have in terms of a budget. So we have the X4 brick. I know that these were relatively profitable back in the day, but they're not as profitable right now. They're kind of on the same level as a GPU. However, they don't really pull as much power as a GPU, so you're not taking as much risk when you're mining with one of these. It's on the ETH hash algorithm, so you can also mine Ethereum Classic if you want to, but the main coin that you're probably going to be mining is Octaspace. I've seen a bunch of people do Ethereum Classic and ZIL as well, so those are the two main pairs that you're going to be doing on ETH hash algorithm ASICs. Now remember, if you're new to mining, you can only mine on one algorithm on an ASIC. With GPUs and CPUs, you get a variety, but with ASICs, it's only one algorithm. The reason that it says two here is because they're basically the same algorithm, so you can mine on both of them right now. So you can actually pick one of these up for around $100, so way better than the CPUs and GPUs. This is probably the best budget to profitability ratio in terms of miners, I would say. If you're really on a budget, you're looking for $100 to spend, you could get one of these and you could start mining cryptocurrency relatively quickly. You would be limited obviously to these coins, so that's why people choose to do GPU or CPU minings, because you have more variety to go with. It also has good temperature and good noise. Normally ASICs are very loud, but this one is actually very quiet in comparison to a lot of them. Now these figures for profitability are going to be changing daily, so you can't really count on them, but right now it's making around 7 cents profit. So ROI times, as I said, is going to be very long, but it's still a lot better than CPU or GPU. Now, the next one that we have on the list is the Ice River KS0 Pro. So obviously Kaspa has been doing very well. We've covered it on the channel a lot. This is making 51 cents profitability per day if you can get it at the right price. The only downside is it can only mine on K-heavy hash, which doesn't have that much variations of coins using that algorithm. With ETH hash, there's a lot of coins that you can mine. However, with Kaspa coin, I believe there's 2 or 3 more that you can mine, but they wouldn't be that profitable in my opinion. Payback time is slightly better than the X4 brick. It does say you pull around 100 watts at 200 gigahash. I believe that there is some overclocking that you can do to bring this up so you get more efficiency and more hash rate on these. Profitability actually looks good. The only problem is it costs around $500 to get. So the X4 brick only cost $100 and this costs $566. So if you did a comparison, let's just say based on today's profitability, you could buy 5 of these and it would bring you up to around 35 cents per day, or you could spend around 500, which would probably be more with shipping, to get around 51 cents profitability per day. It's all up to you. I believe that these are very good still, but they are going to be pushed out by higher hash rate ASICs. So that's what you have to look out for. The X4 brick, less powerful ASICs for the ETH hash algorithm are going to be coming out, I believe, just because the main focus right now is on these higher efficiency algorithms. Main focus is probably going to be like script miners or Bitcoin, Kaspa, Lithium maybe. That's the ones that I think are going to be targeted next up. Now, another one from the Jazz Miner range. This basically has kind of the same efficiency as the X4 brick. However, you are going to be spending quite a lot more on this. So this is the $500 range. You can get it used. And there's no problem with getting one used as long as it's vetted and it can obviously mine. So as long as you're getting the right hash rates, the right temperatures, then you should be fine on these. It's basically like if you wanted to buy the X4 brick, but you have a little more money to spend, so you might as well get this instead. Kind of on the same profitability as the KS0 Pro, so it's whichever one you want to go with. The ROI time is slightly less, so that's good, and profitabilities per day is slightly more. Only problem is you're pulling a lot more power, and the noise is a lot more. One thing I do want to mention about the KS0 Pro is that it does get very hot when overclocking, and it also does get very hot when you're just normal mining. So you might want to consider that when you're going for this. So it's a good budget ASIC miner. I think that the X4 brick is definitely a good one to get an introduction into mining if you're not sure of what you want to buy. This one's not going to break the bank or anything. But this one is kind of after you've done a bit of mining and you're looking for a little more profit per day and you have a bigger budget. As I said, the ones that you're going to be mining is probably Octa, Ethereum Classic, or Ethereum Classic and ZIL. So those are the main budget hardware that I'd go for in terms of ASIC, GPUs, and CPUs. So that's the dedicated mining hardware covered that basically runs off of a electricity cost compared to the profitability of the coin at the time. Now there are different variations of mining that you could call it. This is not technically mining. This is more of an exchange of data for coins. So you buy these devices and they give you coins exchanged for your data that you give them. Basically, we have a bunch of them right here. So we have Weather XM, which is basically like a machine that looks at the weather, collects data for the weather. Obviously, they're going to be selling this data and you get paid in the native coin that they set up. We also have bigger ones like Demo, which is driving, the same thing. They're mapping out roads and stuff like that, which they can sell data for. And then Hive Mapper, which I think is the biggest one right now in terms of people using them. The only problem is that you get paid less if you're in a high density area. So places like New York are going to get less paid out. They want to basically map as much as they can. So if you're in, I don't know, Nebraska and you want to drive around, you're going to get a lot more tokens for driving around in this area than you would in, Chicago or New York. So these are something to consider. The price on these used to be lower, but they have gone up recently. And I believe that the price of the token has also gone up recently in the last maybe 4 or 5 months, which has made it very profitable. I did see these going on eBay for quite a lot of money just because they were making a bunch of profitability. So there are other options in terms of those. I don't really know too much about them, so there might have to be another dedicated video dedicated to these swapping information for coins. That's basically what you're doing. So I will probably create a new video on that sooner or later. Now, following on from that trend, there are other ways to obviously get into mining that don't require necessarily mining. One of these would be nodes. So you can earn from nodes. I wouldn't say that you should go for big nodes right now, just because the Flux nodes or the Neoxa nodes require a lot of capital to start, so we're not on an actual budget. However, if you're into a coin early that does offer nodes, and you get a lot of that coin early on, you know, around $200 to $500 worth of that coin, you put it into a node, then, you know, potentially if the coin takes off, that node will repay out a bunch of coins, and hopefully you'll make a profitability on that. The only reason that I say that this is another option is because you don't have to constantly track the electricity rates, what's the most profitable coin and stuff like that. You can just stick it into one coin, and then you have the option to claim the rewards from the node. So as I said, if you do want a dedicated video on that, like what's the best node that we can go into, then leave a comment below and I'll try explain that as well. And then lastly, if you are really on a budget and you don't really know what to do, but you want limited hardware, there is Chia mining. Now, there are dedicated miners for Chia mining. You can also just use hard drives. This runs off a hard drive, so you don't actually have to buy any mining equipment. All you need to buy is hardware space. And then over time, you can actually plot, is what it's called. You can plot the data onto the hard drive, and that will also uphold the network. So as it says here, I believe that this is 1 terabyte. So let's just say you had 5 terabytes of data that you weren't using, and then the total network space, as you can see here, it'd bring in around 2 cents daily and 75 cents monthly. If you just want to get into crypto mining and you have some hard drives laying around that you don't really use, then this could be a good introduction into it. I wouldn't recommend mining Chia specifically. I don't think that it's actually very good to mine. It's not very profitable in my opinion. I would stick to either the ASICs, or if you want to have some variety and you like switching coins, go for a CPU or a GPU. So just to recap, we have these trading information for money type of things that I wouldn't really consider mining. But if you want a video on that, then let me know. We have on the ASIC side, Jasminer X4 1U, the Ice River KS0 Pro, the Jasminer X4 Brick. Then we have all the GPUs, AMD RX 6600 XT. For CPUs, we have the Ryzen 7 7700 XT, 5700X, and the 7700. From CPU to GPU to ASICs are all around the $500 range, down to around $200, depends on what you get. If you want to buy it secondhand, that's perfectly fine as well. They should be able to be used as long as you get it at a good price. Don't get confused, because somebody will sell them for parts and you don't really want that. So you want the fully functioning device. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts on all of these in the comments. If you have any other budget mining hardware that you want me to cover, or that you have any suggestions for the people on the video, please leave them in the comments below. Make sure you like the video and subscribe for more content like this.